I just work straight through the holidays, sometimes all night long. All right, so I am frustrated today and struggling, trying to help people. It's difficult on me at times because I have a hard time understanding why people cannot just seem to grasp the concepts. I really struggle with it. I pray about it almost every night on how I can reach people's hearts, mind, body, spirits, and souls and get them to turn on their receptors and receive the information I'm trying to provide. I'm going to attempt to break this down as easy as I can in one simplistic, smooth execution. All right? The Article 1, Section 8 venues can only bring suit against like kind. What do I mean by that? A man versus a man can go into those venues, and an entity versus an entity, a trust versus a trust, okay? Unincorporated individual, which is could be a partnership, could be a limited liability company, could be an S-corp, can only bring suits against limited liability corporations, trust companies, things that are alike, dead entities, period. Period. So, when you claim that fucking name, Pete's sake, probably the worst damn thing your folks ever did was give you a calling, and then you misconstrued it to be a name that belongs to you. There are many Derek Gonzalez's in the world, okay? Many of them. So to say that I own the name is facetiously foolish, because in order to own it, nobody else would be able to utilize it without my express written permission. I don't own the fucking name. I've been known to use that name. Are you following me? Who is the one primarily liable for the name? Okay? That's the question that should be on everybody's mind. Who is primarily liable for the name? Who's the owner, the author, and the authority of the name being used on the fucking docket? Pay attention to what I'm telling you, because I'm being very specific today. All right? Because I struggle with all the people that continue to get a hold of me, and I feel like Groundhog's Day every damn day. Every day I'm explaining the same shit, and I'm struggling with it, guys. That name on the docket is not fucking yours. It's not yours. It does not belong to you. You did not fucking create it. You are not the authority of it. You are not the author of it. It is not yours. By claiming it, you become a thief. It's theft by way of taking. All right? Now people go, oh, well, it's fraud by way of inducement. No, it's not. Nobody induced you to accept that as your name, as you being the owner of it. You claimed it, which is a false claim. Now, if we look at Title 1578 FF, false and misleading statements, comes at a $25 million fine. You are a sinner if you go into that venue claiming that fucking name. So even if you beat the court case, even if they dismiss it, you're still a sinner. You're still screwed up. I want to explain something to you about these venues. It took me a long time to see jurisdiction. Now I run through it like an 18-wheeler. I have no problem shifting gears and switching lanes. at all at any time in any court proceeding. I shit you not. I have no problems at all doing it, but it's not something that I can draw on paper. It was one of the things my mentors it used to torment me mentally, that they couldn't draw it up for me. They could not show me jurisdiction. You have to be able to hear it. You have to be able to feel it, because it is not something physically tangible. It's an intangible thing. You have to be able to hear it and feel it and know when you're shifting gears. Just like when your tachometer on your automobile doesn't work in a 6-speed. When I'm running through gears in a quarter mile, I don't watch the tachometer. I don't watch the speedometer. I could give two shits about those two indicators. They mean nothing to me. I'm listening to the heartbeat of that horsepower. I'm listening to the cam and the crankshaft and the cylinders, and I'm listening for the right time to grab the next gear. Same thing in these courts. Same thing. When you're in that venue, I want you to understand something and comprehend this. Let it resonate in your mind. I can't change your fucking beliefs. I can try and help plant some seeds that might cause you to think. You are in there with unlimited liability, even unto death. The ones bringing the falsified claim into the court using a false and misleading misnomer, an unregistered DBA, not registered with the Secretary of State, are bringing fraud upon the court with a false claim. All right? That's a fact. How do I know that to be a fact? How do I know that to be true? Because I'm in there with unlimited liability, because the law and the orders from the court can be enforced with lethal force. Can the state of Nebraska be murdered, euthanized? No. Does the state have the ability to operate in good faith, good conscience, and for good reasons with morals? The answer to that is no. So am I and the state the same kind of entity? No. Real simple. So you invoke the protection of the Sixth Amendment. It's not a Sixth Amendment right. You invoke the protection, clearly the line drawn in the sand, written by hand, scribed on paper, and accepted unanimously across the board. And that is your right to face your accuser, the claimant, the man or woman bringing the claim. If you cannot do that, ladies and gentlemen, you have been put in a precarious position where you yourself face imminent threat, even unto death, and nobody on the opposing side risks the same. That is not due process of law, and that is not justice. That's strong-armed robbery. And they're counting on your ignorance to play your part, to be the surety for their bullshit claim. There is no plaintiff who has made a general appearance, sworn to, and independently bonding this case, and I believe none exists. It's that fucking simple. It's like playing poker in Vegas. You expect the house to put up all the risk, and you're just going to gamble with their funds and reap the rewards if you win, and if you lose, well, then the casino's just out? Is that what we're doing here? It doesn't work in Vegas, ladies and gentlemen, and it shouldn't be happening in those courts. I say shouldn't be happening because it happens every fucking day there. They put nothing up as surety. They don't bond the fucking cases. They bring fraud upon the court. They use false and misleading misnomers. They use false and misleading statements. Under Trinsley versus Pagliaro, none of them are competent enough to testify to a fucking thing because none of them have firsthand fucking knowledge of anything at all. They're using your own words against you. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Not can and might be. They tell you right to your fucking face the contract. And if you decide to open your mouth from that point, well, you're the only one to blame. These little devils use tricks to manipulate your mind into believing that in society, you must talk to these agents and agency because they are noble, they are just, they are righteous. Let me tell you something. Those fucking cretins have the same immoral thoughts you do. Don't think for a fucking second they're any better than you. They got skeletons in their closet, too. All right? I once told a judge sitting on a bench, if you don't quit fucking with me, I'm going to hire a private investigator to scrutinize your entire fucking life. You want to play around like you don't have any skeletons in your closet, you asshole? Give me about 35 fucking days, and I guarantee you I'll drag out all your dirty laundry. I will find a way to go through your text messages, through your Facebook accounts, through your Instagrams, through your high school associates. I will find the dirt that you fucking hide that you're not so fucking proud of. You want to try and drag me through the mud, asshole? Let's play. That's the kind of mentality I have. You want to fuck with me? I've got ways of fucking with you too. I would rather be a humble man, an honorable man, an honest man, and be left the fuck alone, but if you continue to play with me, I will show you just how nefarious and devious I can fucking be. There are things worse than death in this world. You know, because as a magistrate, as an administrator, as a judge, you're supposed to keep an image above par in the public view. And I could tarnish that in a New York fucking second because nobody is free from fucking sin. And the fact that your overeducated, ignorant fucking ass is going to allow these shenanigans to continue in this fucking court, absent a victim, absent an actual crime, absent somebody willing to verify under the pains and penalties of perjury that they've been caused a harm, a wrong, or a damage by me, alleging that somehow it's fucking criminal. That's enough to hang your ass. That's enough. I don't need anything fucking more. Your incompetence is enough to find you guilty. If there is nobody sitting in the plaintiff's desk but some fucking falsified representer, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting the shaft. Uncle Sam is putting his dick up your ass. And I know I'm being a little brash, a little harsh. I'm kind of being an asshole today, but fuck me. The only lessons I've ever learned from in my life were painful. So if this hurts your ears, good. It should hurt your fucking feelings. Okay? Because if that's the only way I learn, surely I'm not the only one out there in this world that learns that way. So I hope it's painful today. I hope it feels like rosebush thorns drug across your scrotum. I hope this hurts you a little bit. Listen here. The Fourth Amendment. The right to be secure in your paper, houses, property, and effects. Notice I didn't say private property. I did not diminish the word property with an adjective in front of it. Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I never graduated high school. I never really took English literature. I had to learn all this shit on my own. Thankfully, I had good mentors and good people in my life that couldn't stand the thought of having a village idiot wandering around their community. So I give back what was so freely given to me in the hopes that we can change the trajectory of this nation. 99.9% of the world population is good by nature. They are good people that want to be left the fuck alone and take care of theirs. All right? Let's get into contract. Contract creates the law. Equity follows that law. However, that maxim is grotesquely viewed in the wrong way, because equity wholly disavows Roman civil law. In most instances, it just completely ignores it wholly and entirely. So when does equity follow the law? When the contract between one man and another man is made in good faith, with good conscience, for good reason. Equity looks at the law, because contract creates the law and equity follows the law. That's how that works. People keep getting the jurisdictions misconstrued. Oh, well, there's equity. What they did with the 1871 Judicature Act. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't realize the kind of shit show they did and pulled on the American people with the Judicature Act of 1871, where they commingled equity and Roman civil law. All right, they commingled it. And it wasn't for your benefit. I have watched numerous administrators reach into the equity bag on behalf of the prosecutor. If there ever be a question as to who is right and who is wrong, the man in the room the benefit should always be given to is the fucking defendant. Period. Especially when there is no fucking plaintiff. Right? That's just common sense. But what do these administrators do? They reach into that old beautiful bag, lustrial bag of equity. They go, yep, prosecutor, we're just going to give you the benefit of the doubt here. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Why? Because they're unjustly enriching themselves off securities that they're not filling out the 1099-Rs on. They're not doing the 1099 OIDs, the Form 56s, the Form 56F. They're not doing the 1099Cs, 1099As. They're getting you to abandon your securities because it's a commercial arena. Commercial. That's what it is. You are not in an equitable court. And the equity they're reaching into is Roman civil equity. It is not the exclusive jurisdiction of equity. The exclusive jurisdiction of equity, as Rourke articulates, has about 20 maxims. I would argue that only because I've read through books that have over 13,000 maxims in them, and I find a lot of maxims that come directly from the Bible, so there is clearly more than 20. Is there 20 that you could work with that would be really efficient? Absolutely. But why stop there, ladies and gentlemen? Why limit your capacity to gain knowledge just based upon somebody's word that there's only 20 that you really need? Because really, there's more than that. In reality, there are a lot of great maxims out there. For example, he who contradicts himself shall not be heard. That maxim is not a maxim that Rourke speaks of, but I'm here to tell you right now, I love that maxim, and I smack administrators with it all the time. Right in their face. Are you contradicting yourself? Because he who contradicts himself shall not be heard. Oh, you want to send me to the nut house and you think you're of sane sound mind, but I know I'm of sane sound mind? Who sounds fucking crazy now, you jackass? Fuck out of here with that retarded rhetorical shit. Right? Gotta have a little bit of fucking testicles, some tenacity. These people are running roughshod over your back trying to convince you it's fucking raining. And you buy it lock, stock, and barrel without giving any vigor, any fight, any heart. Stand with conviction. You know, the Heavenly Father once put a man in with a den of lions. Paul was incarcerated when he was writing his writs that pertain to the Bible. In the good book, it does not say you will go without suffering. And in legal land, when you start to look at the word suffering, it means to volunteer. So what I deduce from that is we volunteer to suffer, ladies and gentlemen, because we failed to study. And it's not so much studying the books as it is studying what's inside of us that makes the difference. Every organism, every cell in your body is a miracle. That's why they don't like you to see what life is. How fascinating the human body is. And the human body in legal terms would be the body of a beast. So let's say the body of man. How miraculous it is. Do you know the odds of you being born is like 1 in 400 billion? So I would call each and every man walking this earth, and when I say man, I mean man and women alike, because that word means plural. It's a plural word. Man means man and woman. All right? That means that each and every man and woman that you see combing this earth, walking about it, is a fucking miracle. The odds, 1 in 40 billion? It's amazing. 125 years of virology fuckery, insult to an injury. Yeah, well, there's that too. So, in a court venue, they ask, are you Derek S. Gonzalez? I don't know, can one be a name? Am I being a smartass? No, I'm asking a question. Why? Because I have a right to the nature and the cause of the proceedings. And when you ask them for the nature and the cause, they're just going to go read off their statutory bullshit. You've been charged. Well, who the fuck is you? You need to be very specific because the law is specific. And you is vague and fucking ambiguous because it's plural. I'm going to give you all who are watching this today, I'm going to give you something great. Am I just talking to one of you or am I addressing all of you? Start to use your melon a little bit because they're playing on words. Jurisdiction is the law of the words, the play on words. Words have meaning and words are powerful. He who makes a statement has the onus of probandi. When you go in them fucking venues and you make a statement, you just cooked your goose. You just cooked it. You better be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. You claim that fucking name, you better be able to prove that you created it, you registered it, you own the son of a bitch, and that they're trespassing on your property. Your private, special, intellectual property. If you have not done that yet, you have falsified a record and are a sinner and claiming something that doesn't rightfully belong to you. And just on that alone, you're guilty, regardless of the verdict. Yes, according to you, by the definition under, what is it, the USC, you is a debtor. You bet. There are many, and that's why we ask questions. What dictionary are you using? Whose definitions? I want to know, are you using the government styles manuals? Are you using Black's Law Dictionary? Are you using Webster's Dictionary? We really, in order to have an ascension of the minds and to have an articulate, meaningful contract between the three of us, the four of us, the clerk of the court, the magistrate, the administrator, the prosecutor, and the imaginary state of affairs, we really need to have established lingo and language. So are we going to use Webster's Dictionary today? Are we going to use Black's Law where there's 50,000 fucking different conversions of words because every year they rewrite Black's Law Dictionary, or every 5 years they rewrite it, and so they've got the first edition, the second edition, the third edition, the fourth edition, the fifth edition, the sixth edition. Can you see how we could literally be in litigation for thousands of fucking years? Because we could never, ever have a meeting of the fucking minds if we don't understand the words that are being used and what their fucking meaning is. So that's why we ask questions. Is there anybody else invoking the court's jurisdiction here today? Who is invoking this court's jurisdiction today? Because I see no plaintiff making a general appearance sworn to, independently bonding their verified claim. Am I mistaken here today? Or is the claimant gonna fucking show up? Who's the man or woman that I owe something to or that I violated? Who in here is putting up unlimited liability like myself, including up to death? Well, then I require this matter be well resolved and settled. Dismissed, discharged, acquitted, quashed. vacated, these words just seem to come to my mind. Now, I know other things, but I'm not going to get into the securities aspect of it and the trust aspect of it because I don't want to confuse some of the newbies here. Because I know all about rights, titles, interest, dividends, derivatives, debentures, hediments, general tangibles, general intangibles, chattel securities, trust residuals, trust residue, rents, profits, and proceeds. You see, I comprehend being the beneficiary, and I understand that when the trustee and the beneficiary are in one person, that the trust collapses and the checkbooks come out. Can I get an amen? Hallelujah. Then you have that half-wit cretin, that devilish prosecutor over there, trying to unjustly enrich himself, bringing falsified records. Malicious prosecution comes to mind. False imprisonment if it got that far. Can one be the name? Who's primarily liable for the name? Let me take you to something that Mr. Anonymous shared with me the other night. I read it, and it doesn't directly say this, and this is why I had such a hard time wrapping my mind around it, because a lot of things aren't specifically said within the Supreme Court documents. They allude to them, but they leave it open for you to cognitively assert yourself and figure it out. Who is the party that carries the primary liability for all debts? And that answer is the President of the United States after 1933. Okay? And what he shared with me was the Jones Act. And there was one other act. And it was a nice little booklet. It was like 65 pages of Supreme Court cases talking about the Jones Act. And it referenced a sailor, a seaman, who was in charge of carrying explosive ordnance across the ocean. And because the explosive ordnance could discharge if static electricity was about, they had to cover the metal hull with some type of wood. And that seaman who was charged with that duty tried to bring suit under the Jones Act because he had fallen through the sheathing that protected the metal, because as you go through the ocean, obviously it's not smooth sailing, and the ordnance would punch through the sheathing and land in the bottom of the metal hull, and there were holes down there. So he sued. And they said that he had a duty to ensure that the sheathing was perfect anyway, so he couldn't bring suit. He was barred from suit because it was his duty. So I called Mr. Anonymous. I go, I think I understand what you're talking about the primary active degree of fault falling upon the President of the United States to pay all debts. And he goes, do tell. I go, it's his duty after 1933. Actually, after 1913, when Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law, and then in 1933, Theodore Roosevelt enacted it and enforced it. And then 1971, Nixon turned around and removed the gold standard from the dollar, and they backed it with the petrodollar. And thus, because they removed the gold from the American people, they carry the primary liability of default to pay the debts. And he goes, bingo. You got it. They've got the active primary liability and duty of paying the debts. And it's the President of the United States. Send your bills to the President of the United States. They're his obligation. Because when they took the gold, the form of payment from the American people, and allowed the Federal Reserve to issue their private military script that's copywritten and patented and trademarked, that doesn't pay a debt, because Franklin Delano Roosevelt said in his inaugural speech, you can't pay a debt with a debt, and a Federal Reserve note is an instrument of fucking debt. Federal Reserve note is an instrument of debt. You can't pay a debt with a debt. Period. Can't do it. It's an impossibility. You can't take a negative number and turn it into a positive number. It doesn't fucking work that way. So, when you start to comprehend this, when you start to see how it works, you can start to navigate these treacherous waters a little different. And they go from being treacherous waters to smooth sailing, operational waters. You are not the all caps fucking name. If for some reason you would like to control that all capital letter name, go out there and get yourself an assumed business name. Then turn around, print yourself off a business card with that assumed business name, and take your assumed business name and get it certified, and then go to the USPTO, the United States Trademark and Patent Office, and go ahead and trademark that name because you're using it in business. And when they ask you what evidence you have to prove that you're using that business, that name in commerce so you can trademark it, you send them your assumed business name. Bingo. They will trademark that cocksucker for you. All right. You can also do an art mark on your signature because your signature is going to be used in combination with your trademark. Okay. You can do a copyright from that point. The USPTO will not deny that. This is some protections afforded by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. To infringe on a trademark is absolutely egregious, and there is remedy out the wazoo for trademark and copyright infringement. That's why everybody copyrights their books. That's why everybody does the trademark. But very few people ever talk about the art mark. The art mark would be the signature associated with your trademark and your copyright on that copyrighted or trademarked entity. This is going to be the art mark for that entity. So anywhere that art mark is utilized, whether it be on promissory notes, whether it be on international bills of exchange, all of a sudden you can directly tie it to your art mark. And now if people are trading it without your consent, generating revenue, if you will, or credits on account, now you have a claim on it, don't you? Now you can stop these cretins from doing that shit, can't you? So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and talk about the fact that you're carrying unlimited liability and they carry no liability at all on their end. And because of that, they're in breach of due process of law. They have caused undue hardship on you that you cannot overcome, because in the instance that you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're the only one in there carrying full liability, who is going to indemnify you? Should it be discovered in the court that's allowed to presume and assume bullshit in order to fleece you? Who's going to carry that liability if you're damaged? Who's going to make you whole? So these are things that I point out. Asking questions in the court. Your Honor, is asking questions in this court to get full clarity on the subject matter, in personam jurisdiction and territorial jurisdiction? Are those jailable offenses? Is asking a question a jailable offense or an offense for which contempt may be able to manifest? I mean, don't I have a right to a fair and meaningful hearing and a fair and meaningful trial? Yes or no? Or is this some biased operation for which you seek to extort me of my life source energy granted to me by the Heavenly Father without having a plaintiff before this court? I mean, is this the kind of shit show where we should all go out on the road and duel and see who lives and who dies? Or is there going to be some type of honor and integrity in this room today? Are you going to administer the grace of the Heavenly Father? Or are you going to be working with this devil over here to unjustly enrich yourself and not pay your fucking taxes under Title 26, 2603, 2203, 2002, and 2001? Anybody in constructive possession of decedent estate property is liable for the carryover basis of the transfer taxes? Under Title 26, 2032, AE 11, the prosecutor is required to be independently bonded with the Secretary of Treasury of Puerto Rico. I see no facts and evidence on the record that that has been accomplished. I need to see the anti-bribery statement from you as an administrator. I need to see your foreign registration certificate to establish that you even have anywhere near having the capacity to be able to administer this. I need to see the evidence that you're non-biased, because after all, that is your claim, right? You are a disinterested third party set to rule on this matter with no financial interest in said matter in any way, shape, or form. Right, Judgy Poo? Yes, I am. Great. I'm going to need access to your bank accounts, all the trust that you've manifested in your fucking life. I need to know if you're tied to the CRISP system in any way, shape, or form. And if you're profiting even a fucking penny from this, your statement falls short because you do have a financial interest in this. All right? Just ask questions. You can't go wrong. But it's important to know who you are and to understand that you are not an all caps name. That name does not belong to you. You may have a calling. You may have been even known to respond to that name. But I also respond to asshole judge. I also respond to son. I also respond to son of a bitch. I also respond to a number of other things. Brother bear, protector. I respond to all kinds of callings. Am I liable for all those callings as well? Is every brother in this nation that's created a crime, done something ill, or received ill-gotten gains from their nefarious activity because I use the word brother, or sometimes I answer to brother? Am I guilty of all their crimes as well? Use your melon. I love you guys. I hope this helps you out. I just had to blow off some steam and get rid of some frustration because today people are trying... They're asking me questions that, to me, I just struggle with the fact that over all these years, people still are not being able to see it. When can I depose? I require to depose the claimant. I require full discovery. I require to know who's invoking the jurisdiction of this court. And I require full disclosure financially. I require to see a verified pleading handwritten in this case file fucking jacket from a man or a woman with opposing fucking thumbs that wrote it up stating how I cause them harm, damage, loss, and injury if this in fact is a criminal matter. If it's a civil matter, you better bring out the lying, looting, pandering piece of shit agent and agency who witnessed me with firsthand fucking knowledge sign a fucking contract and enter into an agreement with the state. Bring them forward. We got some splaining to do, Lucy, because I bet you can't find one. Isn't it interesting how you notarize your documents, but when you fill out government forms, nobody ever asked to see a notary? You don't have to do it before a notary? Isn't that fucking amazing? I love you guys. I don't teach this stuff so you can shirk your responsibilities. It's quite the contrary. And I understand that many people will never take this path because it comes with an abundance of responsibility. It takes, you take on a lot of liability and a lot of responsibility when you operate on the private side. All right. And I understand why many of you are scared and nervous of doing it because you do risk going to jail doing this. You absolutely do. But let me tell you something. Mistakes are forgivable. And when a mistake is drawn to your attention and you do not correct it, now it becomes an error. And errors you are liable for. All right, that's another tidbit of knowledge that I can drop upon you today. If somebody points out a mistake, accept it, acknowledge it, move forward, correct it. If you don't correct it after I point it out to you, now it's an abortion of justice, an egregious error at law, and I can hammer your ass for it. I love you. We'll talk to you soon.